Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dear KB. My name is Kristen Brown, and I'm a spiritual and empowerment coach, author, and mentor. And I'm also the host of the Sweet Empowerment podcast, Reclaiming Your Personal Power. And I am here to answer you, the subscribers' questions. And this is a question that I received yesterday, and it was posted under the video I posted yesterday, which was 5 powerful tips to get over someone you love. And this is what the subscriber asked. She said, I have dived into research along with all my spirituality and positivity. I know this happened in my best interest. I know this was the universe. However, per my heart and ego, I'm finding a hard time with not just his loss. We were friends and our families were friends, but that he's moved on and replaced me so quickly. Well, actually, he replaced me prior to breaking up. And the first thing I want to say is that I know how incredibly painful this is. Like I mentioned in the 5 tips video, this is something that we can really, really struggle with in life, and something that can really bring us down and floor us for a long time if we allow that to happen. But hopefully you have found this video for a reason, and you are going to listen with an open heart and mind so that you can have a shift in perception about what is happening. Because anytime we are in one direction and we have this inertia going forward of fear and sadness and loss and longing and betrayal and all of these things that's happening, sometimes it only takes one little shift in perception that can change our trajectory to a better, stronger healing path so that we can move forward from this and leave it in the past and move on to attract our forever love, what I tend to call our lifer. Okay, so one of the most important things to know right off the start is that I would be hard pressed to not find this in every person that has suffered this type of loss or betrayal. And that is that they somehow personalize it inside themselves, which means that we think we did something wrong. And a lot of what happens is that we get stuck on this loop of replaying over and over again situations, scenarios, times where we upset them or whatever. And we're like, why couldn't I have done this differently? Why couldn't I have done this better? Look at that, they left me, and it's my fault, my fault, my fault. Or sometimes we can go the completely other direction of total blame. And I want to tell you right now, like, this is the most important thing that you need to understand, is that it is not for you to take all responsibility for a relationship. There are 2 parties involved here, and those 2 parties are coming up with a dynamic together. Okay. So that does not mean that you are completely and wholly responsible for this. So if you're going down the shame and unworthiness and self-blame and self-loathing path, that is not going to serve you, because there are many reasons why people do what they do. And sometimes it's too much to list, but I'm going to do my best to give you a clear outline so that you can listen to this video with your heart and your mind open, and you can walk away from this video at least with some hope that things are going to get better, but hopefully with some renewed inspiration, some renewed empowerment, so that you can leave this behind for good and set course in life to attract that ideal partner to you. The fact that this person is dealing with not only the loss of their partner, they're also dealing with the loss of the family members and the people they had grown close to. And so there's going to be people that are leaving our lives, and there's going to be like an empty space involved in our lives. And we're, especially if we really liked and enjoyed those people. So it's important to understand that breakups and loss are a grieving process. As with anything in life that we lose, that we wish that we still had, there's going to be some grief involved. So give yourself the space, first of all, to feel the loss of whatever it is, okay? But also know that everything is divinely perfect. Everything is divinely perfect. So even though we might be feeling like a particular loss, what we're really doing is rooting ourselves in the past, and we're not allowing for a better, more fulfilling and empowered future. We're thinking that's as good as it gets, and we want to hang on to all of that, because chances are that made us feel really safe and secure. So as human beings, we're constantly seeking for this safety and security. Many times the reason why we have difficulty moving on from somebody else is because what we have attached to them, and if it is safety and security, often we are not giving ourselves safety and security. So we believe that we have to get that from outside of ourselves. So anytime that we are seeking outside of ourselves for whatever it might be. It could be love, approval, attention, validation, safety, security, whatever it might be. If we are looking out there in the world for this thing, that means that it is missing from in here. And I will tell you with complete certainty that when you start to give yourself all the things that you think you were supposed to be getting, or maybe you did get from your person, what that means is there was an empty space inside of you that you were trying to get somebody else to constantly fill. And that is about you, because we need to learn how to fill up our insides first. We need to learn to be wholly and completely happy with self. That doesn't mean that we're not going to grieve if there's a loss or we're going to feel sad. But I will tell you this, when you are secure in who you are, it is much easier to let people come and go from your life because you don't have that gnarly attachment to them filling the empty cup within. Another important thing to mention is that when people cheat or move on quickly, that is speaking directly to the empty void that is inside them. Now, we are the walking wounded. I've talked about this in many videos. There's no one on this planet Earth that is a human being that is going to come out of here unscathed without some type of pain or betrayal or traumatizing or dramatizing incident that has left its mark on us. But as we are young and we are babies and we come here and we know only that of our divine perfection, as we move through life, we start to get these outside messages about us that there's something fatally flawed within us, or that we are unworthy or undeserving of something. And many times we will seek to get that filled within somebody else, which is what I was just speaking about with our partners. However, even if somebody in our life is acting like they got it all together and they really don't need that, unless or until they have done the necessary work to fill that void, because that is part of our spiritual path here on planet Earth, unless they have done their work and they have gotten themselves into a higher level of consciousness, that program is still running in their own brain. So what they are in essence doing is, if they are throwing you aside without conversation, without saying, hey, there's something missing inside of me, or I'm not quite being fulfilled here, or, maybe it is something that you're doing. Maybe, I have to be completely honest here. If you are bringing something to the equation that is very, very difficult for someone to deal with, such as maybe over jealousy or some type of addiction, or you're not, pulling your half of the weight in the relationship, those type of things, then your person, and they've worked with you, they've tried and nothing has come of that. Well, then I can see how they would, this doesn't make it okay, but how they would be like, okay, I'm over this and I just need to move on with someone else. That doesn't mean that it is the right way that they did it, but we cannot make them wrong because they get to make that choice for themselves. However, if those conversations were never had and you have shown up to this relationship as a beautiful, wonderful, honest, giving, loving, loyal person, and you have not made huge ripples and waves in the relationship and have been totally destructive, then chances are there is something missing inside of your partner. And your partner believes that they need to get this thing from the outside world. So along comes some other stimulus and it feels good in the moment. It's like, oh, that feels good because it's filling my void. And then they forget about you and they jump to this new thing that they think is going to fill the void. But here's the thing. Is that thing going to fill the void for very long? Because if there is a void inside, and that is why the person has left you, I will tell you there is only a certain type of tools and techniques and healing that is actually going to fill that void. And eventually that person isn't going to be enough either. But your former partner is walking around with this emptiness inside of themselves, and they are unconscious to it. This is why it's really important that and I know this is hard, and trust me when I'm hearing the words come out of my mouth, and I know this is going to be difficult to hear and maybe even implement, but it's not about you. It's not about you, and it never was about you. What's going on inside of your person was already there prior to them meeting you. I could tell you million stories about this now at the age I am now, looking back on my relationships and how many times that this has happened. And my second husband, I call my tsunami husband. I'm an excellent person. I'm a great human being. I don't come with a bunch of drama and trauma and dysfunction by any means. And he threw me in the garbage like I was nothing. and went and hooked up with somebody else really fast right away, and even went on to have children with that person. And guess what happened? At some point, she stopped being enough and he had another affair on her. So if I want you to get what I'm saying here, this is not about you. People's choices are not about you, but by you making them about you and thinking that there is something lacking inside of you, that's where your work is. When you start to give yourself all of those things that you believe that you were getting from your person, which truly is only a Band-Aid. It's not the true healing. They don't truly fill our cup. If you start giving you those things, you're going to notice that you are going to step into this whole other essence of energy where people are going to become a cherry on top of your already happy and fulfilled life and own awesome sense of self-worth. They're going to come in and they're going to be a bonus. They are no longer going to be your source. So if you're truly struggling with moving on for a person and you're like worried that they moved on too quickly, please know that it is not you. Yes, there is going to be some grieving involved because anytime there's a loss, as human beings, we go through a grieving process. But also know that you have everything it takes to fill yourself with the things that you thought you were getting from them. They were actually just a false front that you thought was filling you. So let's say that you felt like you were getting protection. I'm going to ask you, have you been protecting yourself? Look back on the relationship. Were you protecting yourself in times that you needed to? How about if you felt they were giving you love and they are your only source of love? I'm going to ask you, have you been giving yourself love? Let's say they've given you security and you feel like, you have to be with them, and you got to be honest with yourself here, guys, that they were my source of security. I'm going to ask you, have you been giving yourself security? Now, those are just 3 examples to get you started on your path. But here's what the healing path is all about. It is about radical honesty and radical introspection. When we start to see things differently, we will start to show up to life differently. I think it was Wayne Dyer that said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I hope you got a lot from this episode today. If this brings up any more questions for anybody who's watching this video, please be sure to comment below, ask your question in a clear and succinct manner so I know exactly what it is you are asking. And if you're new here, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be alerted when I upload new videos. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. And until next time, remember, you matter.